Hi, my name is Maceo Lewis. Welcome to my movie review channel, ML Movie Reviews on YouTube. Today I want to talk about Captain America Brave New World. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie and you plan to watch it, go ahead and hit pause or save this in your list and then come back and watch this video after you have a chance to watch the movie. If you have no plans to watch the movie, then go ahead and watch this. But you've been warned it's going to be a spoiler review. What I'm going to do before I talk about the movie, I want to give my thoughts on the MCU as a whole, because this is like the first movie spoiler review that I'm doing for an MCU movie. I started doing these movie reviews a little bit after Deadpool and Wolverine came out, so this is like the first one that I'm actually reviewing on my YouTube channel. So I kind of want to get my thoughts on the MCU first, and then get into what I think this movie adds to the MCU, and then of course go into my likes and dislikes about the movie. Overall, I mean, again, I said this in my out of the theater reaction. I thought the movie was okay. I had some problems with it, but I'm going to get into that later on. So the MCU. So I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is one of the greatest achievements in cinematic history. I mean, let's focus on like comic book movies, right? Like when you look at the movie like X-Men, I think the X-Men movie, what it added to the comic book genre was the idea that you could take these comic book characters and not only just put them in these movies, because before X-Men, it was kind of like silly. You couldn't really then take, these comic book characters seriously, these movies, but you can actually take them seriously. And I'm thinking of that scene in X-Men with Magneto, and the Holocaust at the beginning of the X-Men movie. Um, you, you got this sense that, oh wow, like they're actually like taking real world drama and incorporating it, blended it into this superhero genre. So that's one of the legacies about the X-Men movies. Fast forward to Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, where it basically took that concept to another level, in my opinion. We made Batman, who by Batman and Robin, I had tapped out on the Batman, movies, but the movie like Batman Begins actually made me like Batman again. And Batman was gritty. It adapted these comic book characters in the real world setting. So Nolan did his take on, the Joker and Bane and Ra's al Ghul and those characters, and that trilogy, I mean, in my opinion, still holds up today as one of the best trilogies. But the MCU, the MCU, what it has done great is created this connected cinematic universe where every movie is its own movie, but it feels like it's telling a bigger, larger story, and you're seeing characters from other movies pop up, which is always cool. At least for me, I'm always like seeing characters from other movies popping up, and other show now with the Disney Plus, the show characters from those shows popping up too. It also culminated into large events. So obviously you had the first Avengers movie. We saw where that was going, with the post credit scene in Iron Man, that they're forming the Avengers, and then at the end of the Avengers you see, oh, the Thanos, and like wanting to court death. Like, okay, but how are we getting Thanos and the Infinity Saga? So we saw where this was going, and obviously Marvel has just, you know, has the greatest financial success ever. I mean, at one point, I don't know if this still is true, but at one point it was averaging $1 billion per film. Not that every film made $1 billion, but when you take the average of what all the movies made, it averaged $1 billion per film. So yeah, I think the MCU is very successful overall in terms of quality, the cinematic universe, and the financial success. Now, this MCU has been divided into the Infinity Saga and the Multiverse Saga. And overall, I mean, clearly, most people agree the Infinity Saga is much better than the Multiverse Saga, and I fall with the majority. I mean, there's many great movies in the Infinity Saga, like Iron Man, of course, Avengers, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, Guardians, Black Panther. I mean, all those movies were great. There were some bad ones, of course, um, but the movies, like, they felt, self-contained, but also they connected to this larger universe. Again, like with the Nick Fury scene in talking about the Avengers initiative at the end of Iron Man, right? There was a clear plan as to where this was all going. Um, so there were some great movies in the multiverse sagas. It hasn't all been bad. I really liked Spider-Man No Way Home. I liked Shang-Chi. I liked Guardians 3, Deadpool, Wolverine, of course. I even like some of the Disney Plus series, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I might have liked Falcon and Winter Soldier more than other people, but I thought it was great. I liked WandaVision. But the rest was like mostly like mediocre or just not good. And overall, it doesn't feel like there's a plan. I mean, they announced that this is going to be the multiverse saga, but really, I mean, these feel like self-contained movies, but not like it's really building up to anything multiverse or doomsday. The rules of the multiverse are inconsistent. Like the rules in Spider-Man No Way Home is different from what we see in Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, and one rule of multiverse is you can't bring anybody in, or they're gonna the universe is gonna collapse or something like that. But in Deadpool and Wolverine, you could bring in a Wolverine from another universe. It's no problem. So it's just like all over the place. Um, and I felt like there were a lot of missed opportunities. I think one of the advantages of the multiverse, I'm not saying it's like the perfect storytelling device. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can bring someone from multiverse, but like it just makes deaths in the cinematic universe pointless because you could bring somebody from another multiverse or whatever. But it's like an opportunity to kind of revisit old past characters and pay homage, and like when they bring in, of course, Blade and Deadpool and Wolverine, the Toby and Andrew Spider Man and their respective villains into those movies. So I like those things. Even in Doctor Strange, they brought in Professor X and Black Bolt from the Inhuman show. So I thought that was cool, and I thought with multiverse you can do things like that, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna do things like that in Doomsday and Secret Wars. But I mean, the main thing though is the stories just aren't great in the multiverse saga overall. I mean, it just feels like these films are rushed. It's like, yeah, this is just a movie, and but like my excitement for these movies just hasn't been the same as it was with the Infinity Saga. So that's the main problem. Now I am excited for Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four coming up, and I mean I haven't heard much about Doomsday other than, of course, RDJ Robert Downey Jr.'s casting, but other than that, I mean we don't know much about it. So, but clearly my excitement isn't the same as it was in the Infinity Saga, like when Civil War was coming out or Black Panther. I mean, it's greatly diminished. I mean, but overall, I'm not done with the MCU. I will continue to check out each movie and each Disney Plus show, but it's just the quality and excitement has just diminished. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the MCU. Now, what does this movie have to do? What does it add to the MCU? Well, first off, you get to see Sam as Captain America in action, right? Because in Falcon and Winter Soldier, he basically gives up the shield, lets it go into a museum. Then, of course, they give it to John Walker. He becomes Captain America. Eventually, takes his super soldier serum, but then he has a breakdown, kills someone. He loses the shield, and then Sam gets it back, and he sort of embraces the shield and the title of Captain America. He didn't feel like he was worthy of it, and he had to struggle with the issues of race, the contradiction between race and America and all that stuff. But ultimately, he decided to embrace the title and the shield as Captain America. That's Falcon and Winter Soldier. This movie, he is Captain America. I mean, you see the military people, the guy who was helping them test the pills. Even the villains refer to him as Captain America, like Sidewinder, the leader. Ross, is looking to Sam to bring the Avengers back. Now, Ross probably has his own plans, right? Ross wants to control the Avengers. But here we see, Sam, basically he is now the new Captain America. Okay. So Steve is quote unquote gone, right? It's funny, like when I'm watching these movies with post Endgame, like none of them really said that Steve is dead. I've never heard that line other in a movie or a TV show. They say he's gone. Okay, all right. So we'll see how that plays out in Doomsday and Secret Wars. But Cap has the heart. He does what is right. He just doesn't follow orders. He does, what is right, whether it's protecting his friend, keeping the Avengers, having the freedom to make the choice to go into a situation rather than being beholden, like I'm obviously referring to Sokovia Accords, right? He's a super soldier, gave people something to believe in, as Bucky said in this cameo in this movie. But Sam is here now. He has heart. He doesn't give up. I mean, kind of like Steve Rogers, right? Because I can do this all day. Although Sam doesn't utter that line, but basically, that's what Bucky tells him. He doesn't give up, and he's instead of having a super soldier, he uses his wing technology, of course, enhanced by the Wakandans. And he also is a little bit more agile, acrobatic. You see him training with Isaiah, right? And we saw him training with the shield and Falcon and Winter Soldier. So he's like doing cool things with the shield and his wings and using the shield while doing aerial combats and stuff. So that's sort of like the main difference between Sam and Steve Rogers. But of course, Bucky says that Sam gives people something to aspire to. I mean, here's this, man, he's a soldier, but he's not a super soldier. But he inspires people to do these type of things. Whereas with Captain America, he's like, okay, he's a super soldier. Of course, he can do those things. It also, this movie introduces adamantium. I can't remember the exact language he used. I saw this movie twice, once opening night and once today. But I believe the language, it basically said that adamantium is stronger than vibranium. But clearly Ross said that adamantium has like more. He basically made a reference to Wakanda as being like an isolated nation. So, I mean, basically with vibranium, you have to have like a be able to trade with the Wakandans, who historically has been an isolated nation. But adamantium is on this the celestial rock that appeared out of the ocean, out of the Eternals. And all the nations are basically fighting over this substance that can change technology, health, and all this stuff that Ross was like throwing ass with his exposition in that scene where he gets assassinated. I mean, we know what that was about later in the movie, but I mean, basically, so we have adamantium. It ties up loose ends from the Incredible Hulk and of course Eternals. But basically, what we have here is now we're about to get the Avengers back together. So at the end of the movie, Ross, who was a foe of the Avengers, I mean, he wants the Avengers in Civil War, but he wanted them under his control. He wanted the Avengers to be bound by the Sokovia Accords. So basically, that amounts to Avengers being controlled, and of course, the Avengers, like on Steve Rogers' side, was like, no, like, what if we don't like what the mission is? Like, we don't agree with what you want us to do. What if we think it's wrong? I mean, that was what Civil War was about. And of course, to Sam's credit, he brings that up when Ross, asked him to get the Avengers back together. But Ross is locked up in the raft now. So, by the end of the movie, Sam is sitting with Torres and says, hey, basically says he's getting the Avengers back together. And he's going to, once I assume Torres recovers from his injuries, he'll be the new Falcon in the Avengers. So, now this movie opens the door to the Avengers coming back. Clearly, Sam, as Captain America, is going to bring the Avengers back together. Now, I don't know if he's going to lead the Avengers. I mean, certainly military people are following Sam and they respect him, respect what he's done, what his military service and what he did as an Avenger. I think Rhodey made some comments to Sam and Falcon and Winter Soldier in that first episode about him taking on the shield and the mantle. So I mean, they could go with Sam. I mean, it may just depend on the box office. Honestly, it may depend on how well the public, the audience, receives Sam as Captain America. I mean, clearly, like when Sam pops into that first action scene where he's flying, and then he makes like a smart comment about how we're not subtle, like this is not covert. We make and basically saying like the Avengers just come in and make a grand entrance. He slams down. It wasn't like a moment like with Cap, right? It wasn't like a moment where Cap, you know, emerges out of the shadows in Infinity War, right? Or um, like it just he just have doesn't have that same you know quality about him where it's like, oh yeah, this is Cap. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel that way with Sam, but overall, I think he's a good you know replacement for Sam. I mean, for Steve Rogers, in the sense that yeah, he's the new Captain America now, and but he's just not as good as Steve Rogers was. I'll put it that way. Um, Now let me get into the likes of this movie. I like the action scenes. I like the battle over the Indian Ocean. There's basically the leader sets up this complex, and this is probably this is gonna get into some of the dislikes, but basically this convoluted plot where essentially he's trying to pit the nations together to ruin Ross's legacy, right? So he's Ross wants peace. He wants the nations to share the adamantium resource, but he sets up this situation where the nations don't trust Ross. Of course, that's kind of Ross's fault because of his past. But I mean, he does some shady stuff, and they blame Ross, and so the nation's like, no, we're gonna go after this resource for ourselves, and then Ross is like, no, I want it for myself. They're gonna go after ourselves, and almost basically gets into a war, and then World War, and of course, Sam and Torres come in and basically prevent a world war. But the whole action sequence itself, like with Cap, using his wings to cut stuff, using the shield, all this stuff is going on. Is so cool to look at, especially on the big IMAX screen. I mean, I like the Red Hulk fight. It just, I mean, we finally get that raging Hulk that we've been missing since Hulk got his butt whipped by Thanos in Infinity War, right? Um, but I mean, he's not like as powerful as the Hulk, but I mean, definitely did some like cool things at the White House, and how he was like leaping after Sam. It kind of reminded me of the original Superman, where the original Superman, I guess, in the comics didn't fly. He could leap tall buildings with a single leap, or whatever that phrase goes. That's what Hulk was doing, right? Or the Red Hulk was doing in this movie, leaping high to try to catch up to Sam. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I liked a lot of the main characters. I liked Sam. I liked Taurus. I like Taurus much better. Like honestly, I saw the Falcon and Winter Soldier series twice. The first time I saw it, after the first time, I completely forgot about the Taurus character. So he didn't really make that much of an impact on me from Falcon and Winter Soldier. But in this movie, he's obviously more of a comic relief, and I thought not all of it, but most of the stuff he said was funny. I liked his dynamic with, of course, Sam, but also Isaiah Bradley. I mean, Isaiah was great too in this movie. I liked his dynamic with Sam and Torres. I like how he would give Sam like these looks and be like, "Oh, I'm just kidding," like just little things like that. Like I thought Isaiah was good, and of course the Ross storyline of wanting to become a better man for his daughter. I thought that was really good too. Now the dislikes. I thought mostly the story was like a carbon copy of previous Cap films and probably parts of other MCU movies. So here's the plot. So Cap's friend is set up. Cap wants to prove his innocence. The real culprit uses Cap's friend and others to destroy someone else's legacy. So, what am I describing? Am I describing Civil War? Am I describing this movie? Like it's like the same skeleton of a plot, right? Now the leader what we're told in the movie, he basically wants to destroy Ross's legacy. Um, I, from what I could take from the movie, he basically wants revenge because Ross didn't pardon him after Ross held him captive for 16 years. So he seeks to go about destroying his legacy by starting a world war. That plan failed, so it's okay. Well, those pills I gave you, I'm gonna talk into your ear and make you mad, so you can become rage out, and that's gonna destroy your legacy. And he carries his plot out by controlling the mind. Like now, it's said in the movie, it's not really clear. It's so convoluted and vague, like how this DNA and mind control stuff. Like, and I'm referring to the opening, the scene that kicks off the movie where Isaiah and those other, I guess, security people took shots at Ross. It's like, okay, is it the DNA? Is it already in their DNA? Did Stern, the leader, did he give them something that messed up their DNA? Like, I don't know. It was just really weird how this guy could not only identify these people but also give them specific commands. Because remember, we found later in the movie that he doesn't want Ross killed, right? So, and it showed the footage where Isaiah was shooting a little bit at an angle, so it wasn't like firing directly at Ross. So somehow he was controlling these people to, yeah, let's just try to shoot him but not really do it. But then when he activates that same song with the I can't remember the name of the troops, but I'm referring to those um troops or officers that catches up with Sam and the Black Widow, or the former Black Widow character, and the song comes up and they're trying to kill Sam. It's like, oh, wait a minute, like, so how is he like imprinting these specific messages? Like, for one guy, you're trying to kill him. This guy, you're actually trying. Like, I don't know. This is really not clear how this is playing out. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I could suspend disbelief when you're saying, okay, let's give Ross these pills, and this these pills contain gamma radiation and stuff like that, and that turns into the whole, okay, fine, I'll go along with that. But I mean, all this other stuff that was going on just really didn't make sense to me. Um, and like, why go through all this trouble controlling other people's minds, like the Isaiahs and the security guards and the guys in the fighter planes? Like, why go through all this trouble? Why not just mind control Ross? Why not just put something in the pills that makes him do something crazy at a press conference or whatever, like that would ultimately destroy his legacy? That seems like that would get the mission accomplished. I mean, if this guy is so smart, I mean, they said in the beginning, well, probably around the end of the first act, we see the guy that Ross calls. It was the warden of the prison, and he was like basically asking him, does he have eyes on the leader? And basically, I was like, yeah, but he was staring at the wall, right? So he obviously he can get out of prison. He knows he has the knowledge to control people. Like, why didn't he just do that instead of being Ross's puppet for 16 years? Uh, I mean, if he has like these mind control powers, who cares about a pardon? He could just mind control people and get his way out of situations. Like, why? I didn't understand. Like, why did he have to surrender at the end of the movie, like to accomplish this? Like, he seemed like he was just making fun, and the guy seemed like he was just popping up in places like that. To me, would sounds like they're like big distances from each other. Like, he went to the one guy general's house, right? And then he ends up at the White House, and he goes like and kills Sam's friend in the military. Like, he's like just popping up everywhere. Like, I don't know, like I don't know. It was just really, like I said, vague and convoluted, and just didn't make that much sense to me. And like most of these characters are, again, like, this is a carbon copy plot. I mean, it's basically like the same characters from previous Captain America. Like, Sam obviously is Captain America. Okay, fine. Torres is the new Falcon. Isaiah is the Bucky. Ruth is the new Black Widow. Ross is like the Tony Stark character in Civil War. the leader is like the Berzio character in Civil War. It's just like the same characters, same plot. Um, Now, another thing I had problem I had with the movie was like the suspension of disbelief. So in the Captain America movies, okay, you can tell me that he takes a super soldier serum that makes him like the fastest of all the humans, and like he could, basically has these enhanced abilities where like if he gets into a conflict with a being like Thanos and Thanos punches him, like okay, I mean, if Thanos punched an ordinary human, they're dead, gone. But Cap, he can recover. Okay, I could go along with it. I can go along in Winter Soldier when Cap jumps out of a plane without a parachute, lands in the water, and does all these cool things with the shield. I could go along with that. All right, and of course taking punches from Thanos. But Sam's not a super soldier, right? He doesn't have the serum. He's just an ordinary, I mean, human being by Marvel standards, right? He's not like a super powered being. He gets stabbed multiple times by Sidewinder and a couple other people. He at one point he jumps from makes a 1 story leap at the White House when he's chasing Isaiah. He just jumps and lands, no problem, no fracture or anything. Just keeps running. Um, During that air combat fight, missiles are blowing up in front of him, and no problem. Like it's just like hard to suspend disbelief at this point because that was one of the problems with um, Sam being Cap. Is like he's not a super soldier, so how is he going to lead people into battle and take all these hits and recover if like? But it's like they're kind of going around that, they're dancing around by saying, okay, well he's doing all this stuff and like I don't know, it's just like it's not consistent with the logic of the movies that was laid out in previous movies, like with the super soldier serum and how it makes you more advanced than an ordinary human being, right? The post credit scene was pointless. We already know there's other worlds, that there's multiverse and stuff, so I didn't really see the point in that. And again, it just shows that there's just no cohesiveness, no plan. Um, um, yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't point. It was pointless to me. I mean, overall though, the movie, I don't say it's horrible. I do think it's probably in the middle tier of the MCU movies. It could be the worst of the Captain America movies, and I say could because I just before watching the movie, I rewatched Winter Soldier and Civil War. Obviously, this is pales in comparison to those two movies. But I didn't rewatch First Avenger, so I have to rewatch First Avenger before I could decide whether it's worse than First Avenger or not. But I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that this is probably worse than First Avenger. But is it like the worst MCU movie ever? No. I mean, like I said, there is some stuff to like about the movie. It's cool. It's a cool spectacle to watch on the big screen. But I mean, overall, is it on the level of those first tier movies? No, absolutely not. So anyway, that's my thoughts about the movie. Check out my other reviews on ML Movie Reviews and hit the subscribe button so that you can be alerted as to when my next review pops. Till then, bye.